As part of the Banyule 2041 community vision process, we established a community working group. We had 50 community working group members work with us to develop our community vision statement and our strategic directions that's going to inform our long-term directions and financial planning into the future.
What are the priorities being achieved for ageing in place?
Is there a report card against the longer term plan?
Housing, affordable living, including social housing.
This is going to have a real impact on how we live and how the traffic flows through our community.
These members have actively engaged and worked with one another to establish a baseline of community values and preferences for financial sustainability.
The things that I wanted to bring to the table were someone with a young family, that perspective, the struggles that I face.
What is there in store for the elderly community?
What's happening around education and involving children in the vision for Banyule.
To preserve this society, where our environment, our wildlife for the future generations.
What the plan will be for when I live in Banyule when I'm older.
This is the best place for me to share my ideas.
Our council is really good. Get all this organised and we just commit it and we'll get there.
I feel like everyone's been able to have their say and express their opinions and give a voice to what matters to them.
It's great to see such a diverse range of people that's helping us to set the future for generations to come.
I think they've come a long way in that from where they started and how they've progressed. I'm really impressed with what they've come up with.
Just the passion, you realise that how connected people are to Banyule and how much they love Banyule.
Getting to really understand what they care about, what they're worried about.
Listening to what they have to say has been the best part of this.
The richness of our communities coming together and collaboratively creating a vision that is us. It's just been a privilege to see that and be a part of it.
Articulating a last little sentence to encapsulate everything is challenging, but I think we ended up with a really good outcome.
And I think us councillors have a lot of good work to reflect on in terms of making this vision a reality.
Thank you everyone for your passion and collaboration. Your recommendations will go to council so that we can formally adopt the community vision as we head towards Banyule 2041. Welcome all to the 7 June 2021 Council meeting. I now open the meeting at 7:01 p.m. and will pass you on to our Chief Executive who will read out the formalities.
Thanks, Mayor. Welcome all. This is an ordinary meeting of Council. My name is Alison Beckwith and I'm the Chief Executive Officer. Due to the current public health requirements, tonight's Council meeting is a virtual meeting held online. Unfortunately, physical attendance by members of the public is not permitted. Council's request to speak methods continue to allow participation without having to attend tonight's meeting. The Council meeting is also being live streamed via our website and Facebook pages. Rules for public participation during the meeting. Please note that any public questions submitted to tonight's Council meeting will be printed in the minutes. Council does not accept questions as part of the request to speak process, and no statement may be derogatory, defamatory or directed to an individual councillor, member of staff, ratepayer or member of the public. A 2-minute time limit temporarily applies to all requests to speaks, and the timer will be used and a warning will sound at the 1.5 minute marks, and officers will sum up in the last 30 seconds if required for statements being read out. I will now introduce councillors in attendance tonight. So on your screen, you will see the Mayor, Councillor Rick Garotti, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Tom Malikan, Councillor Mark Di Pasquale, Councillor Peter Castaldo, Councillor Alison Champion, Councillor Peter Dimorales, Councillor Alida McKern, Councillor Fiona Mitzinikos, and Councillor Elizabeth Neely. This evening we are also joined by our directors, which is Kath Brackett, Director of Community Programs, Mark Gilio, Director of Corporate Services, Jeff Glynn, Director of Assets and City Services, and Scott Walker, Director of City Development. Also here tonight supporting Council is Gina Burden, Manager of Governance and Communications, and we also have members from the governance and IT teams and our JETS team coordinating our live stream this evening. We thank you for tuning in tonight and for adapting with us during these changing times. We are continuing to monitor announcements and warnings for the health and safety of all in our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alison. Our meeting is being held on the traditional land of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and on behalf of Banyule City Council, I wish to acknowledge them as our traditional custodians. I'd also like to pay our respects to the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung elders, past, present and emerging, and to acknowledge other Aboriginal and Torres Strait elders joining us today. Council is committed to and values our diversity within the community, and I'll read our diversity statement that demonstrates our commitment. Banyule is a diverse community made up of people from different cultures, beliefs, abilities, bodies, ages, sexualities, genders and identities. Council is committed to inclusion, access and equity for everyone. These principles foster cohesiveness, empower people and improve the well-being of our community. Would any councillor wish to advise of a leave of absence? I don't see any councillor noting that. We'll now move on to confirm the minutes for the ordinary meeting of council held on the 24th of May 2021 and the council meeting hearing of submissions held on the 26th of May 2021. Can I please have a councillor move and second? Moved Councillor Malikan and seconded Councillor Neely. Councillor Malikan, do you wish to speak? No? I'll put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? Carried. The next item of business is around disclosure of interests. Do we have any disclosure of interests? And I believe we do. Councillor Alida McKern, you've indicated prior to the meeting you have a conflict. Can you please advise the public of this, of the item that you have a conflict in?
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to advise that I have a conflict of interest in item 5.3, Mother of God Church Interim Heritage Protection.
Thank you, Councillor. And when we come to that item, you'll notify the reason for that and leave the virtual room. We don't have any presentations scheduled for this evening, nor any urgent business, nor any petitions. So the first item of business, substantive item of business, is 3.1, Ford Park, 244 to 268 Banksia Street, Belfield, for the proposed lease and licence with Yarra Junior Football League. We don't have any speakers on this item, and I understand we do have wording that differs slightly from the recommendation in our papers. Councillor Dimorales, I understand you wish to move and take us through the amended motion.
Yes. So we've had an addition, and it's develops, and point 4 develops in partnership with the Yarra Junior Football League a community engagement plan that includes consultation with community and sporting clubs that use Ford Park. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor. So that item is moved with the addition point 4 in the name of Councillor Dimorales. Can I have a councillor second? Councillor McKern. Thank you. Councillor Dimorales, do you wish to speak to this item?
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor. This is a great thing for the Ford Park development that's continuing. And it's nice to see that we're holding Yarra Football Juniors Club for the administration purposes for the 5 years while NOB's going forward. Hopefully we can accommodate them during this difficult time with NOB happening and continuing that partnership between ourselves, Manningham, and North East Link and Yarra Football Club. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor McKern, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do. Ford Park has long been a neighbourhood park enjoyed by the local community and local sporting clubs, in particular Ivanhoe Junior Football Club and Belfield Cricket Club. No one would deny that the recent upgrades due to NEL state government funding has been cause for some amazing improvements to the park and has increased usage of the park quite considerably. What I'd like to do, Mr Mayor, is to clarify that the 7,500 plus GST is part of the lease agreement that is specifically in terms of the YJFL use for the new office spaces that are being built as part of the new pavilion. Other parts of a future lease, which would form part of the seasonal allocation, which would include YJFL's use of grounds and other parts of the pavilion, including the social spaces, are yet to be determined. And I would like to point out to other sporting clubs that might be with us tonight, Mr Mayor, that they will be included in a meeting to discuss those allocations. I also want to clarify why I put forward the amendment in relation to community engagement. And it's because of the long-standing nature of the park as a neighbourhood park. I believe it's important that we embed the opportunity for the community to have ongoing interest and a say in how the park is managed. So groups like the Ford Park Dog Walkers Group and the Belfield Community Group, I'm hoping will be guaranteed ongoing consultation via such a community engagement plan, and it will be an opportunity for YJFL to give something back to the area, which will kindly host it for 5 years plus an optional 4 extra. I would also, through you, Mayor, invite the CEO, who I believe has been very instrumental in developing the lease with YJFL, to add any other significant information around that lease that may be of interest to the public listening in tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. CEO, did you wish to make any comments?
I think Councillor McKern covered most of the points, and we look forward to working with Yarra Junior Football League and the community.
Thank you, CEO. Does any other councillor wish to speak on this item? No, in that case, I'll put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? I declare the motion carried. The next item of business is 5.1, 59 Swanston Street, Heidelberg Heights, renewal of leases. We don't have any speakers, and we have a recommendation on our papers. May I have a councillor move? I can't see all councillors now with the... so, Councillor Malikan, are you happy to move? Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Fiona Mitsenikos, are you happy to second? Thank you. Councillor Malikan, do you wish to speak to this item? Councillor Mitsenikos, do you wish to speak to the item? Does any other councillor wish to speak to this item? I'll now put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? Declare the motion carried. The next item of business is item 5.2, 1017 Heidelberg Ride, Ivanhoe, for the proposed declaration of public highway. There are no speakers, and I'll be looking for a mover. Moved Councillor McKern and seconded Councillor Neely. Councillor McKern, do you wish to speak to the item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do wish to speak to the item. The declaration of this so-called road at 1017 Heidelberg Road is really a clarification for public and property owners and business owners alike, which starts to become more significant as the area surrounding this this pedestrian access way becomes more developed. And by declaring a public highway, Council is taking responsibility for the pedestrian access way as such, a public pedestrian access way. I'm also keen that in the future, once the declaration is made, that in a future budget, not too distant future, Mr. Mayor, that consideration of improvements to that public access way, possibly with street tree planting and upgrades to paving, to give it a bit of a facelift, might be in order, given that it is a significant access way to the Darebin station. Otherwise, through you, Mayor, I'm wondering whether the Director of City Development, Mr. Walker, might explain a bit about the background to this formal acquisition.
Director.
Do so through yourself, Mayor. And maybe just to explain that that this is a piece of land that really is in the original subdivider's name, and there's a little bit of uncertainty, perhaps given the current title arrangement, as to who has responsibility for that land, who has oversight of that land, and our view as a council is based on the understanding and our research that we've done that it is a public highway that is to the benefit of pedestrian and public access through there, that really does sit with council in terms of responsibility. However, this process really makes that clear. So it's not open to dispute. It's not open to others making or taking views to the contrary. So this will just really confirm and put in place what we believe is already the legal status of that land anyway. And then there is the ability then to name that laneway, which will be a further consideration in the future. And also, as mentioned by Councillor McKern, there will be some referring to future capital works budgets for a potential upgrade of that space as well as a continued public access way.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Neely, did you wish to speak as seconder?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, public access to amenities like public transport, parks, shops, or simply your daily journey, could be walking with your kids to school or your route to get to work, is really important to residents in Banyule. And when this sort of access is restricted for any reason, it can cause frustration, particularly for local commuters. After the research has been done on this, declaring this parcel of land as a public highway for pedestrian use is supporting this connectivity that I'm speaking about. And I like the fact that it makes this process abundantly clear that under council ownership, this is the best use of the land. So a good one here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? No, in that case, I'll put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? Declare the motion carried. We have a supplementary item 5.3 this evening, Mother of God Church, Ivanhoe East, Interim Heritage Protection. And Councillor McKern, I understand you've indicated a conflict earlier this evening. Can you please state the nature of the conflict?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a general conflict of interest in this item, as stated previously. I'm currently attending the Mother of God Church as a parishioner and voluntary member, whilst my normal church at Mary Immaculate is undergoing renovations, and I think it complicates any issues regarding that church for me.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now ask you to leave the room virtually, and we'll place you into another virtual room, and bring you back to the meeting once this item has been dealt with.
Thank you.
We have one speaker to the item, Janine Rossetti, and a pre-recorded video will now play, hopefully.
On behalf of Heidelberg Historical Society, I urge Council to consider interim heritage controls to prevent the potential demolition of the Mother of God Church in East Ivanhoe. Heidelberg Historical Society nominated this church to be considered as part of Council's current heritage study. It opened in 1957 and was designed by the architectural firm of Mockridge, Starley and Mitchell. This group of post-war architects initially worked on domestic architecture, now coming to public notice in Beaumaris, and then branched into schools, universities and ecclesiastical projects. This church building is firmly set in what Norman Day describes as the heroic period of Australian modernism. That is, the years following the end of austerity after the Second World War, and the prosperous and optimistic years either side of the 1956 Olympic Games. One of the striking features of the building is its slender cantilevered butterfly roof, designed to keep the congregation dry when gathered outside. Inside, the abundance of wood, glass and Besser brick has been noted as a feature of modern churches of this period. We applaud the updating of Banyule Council's heritage study to recognise the importance of modernist buildings in the municipality. Some 70 years after their construction, they are neither quaint nor cutting edge, but they do represent a particular and important architectural aesthetic, and they are particularly under threat. The loss or compromise of much of the output of Mockridge, Staley and Mitchell elsewhere in Melbourne makes Mother of God's preservation all the more urgent. We urge Council to place an interim overlay on the property so that the demolition application will be suspended. Thank you.
And we thank Janine Rossetti for that pre-recorded video. And we have a recommendation on our papers. May I have a councillor move? That motion moved Councillor Castaldo. And looking for a seconder, Councillor Neely. Thank you. Councillor Castaldo, can you take us through?
Thank you, Mayor. Could we scroll through the recommendation, please? I'll just move it as is.
Thank you, Councillor. And do you wish to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd like to firstly thank Janine and the Heidelberg Historical Society for their contribution to ensuring this important community building is given every opportunity to be protected, and I am completely behind the creation of interim controls to protect this very important building that reflects the characteristic and a type of architecture that is important to the overall character of East Ivanhoe and the broader area in Banyule. There's a lot of buildings that are not protected, and we've been going through a heritage protection review, and this one was nominated, as was identified then. And this is one of many that are very important to our community, and Heidelberg Historic Society have contributed numerous occasions to try and protect important buildings such as this. Council, a couple of years back now, developed a new policy around how do we protect buildings that don't have the protection when a demolition permit is put forward. And while we've tried to advocate with the applicant to hold back on the demolition on this one, that hasn't been achieved at this point. We consider it absolutely vital that an interim control is put forward, and we will be putting it forward to the Minister to put those in place until a heritage review can be undertaken. And this is a new policy. It's the second time that our council has enacted this. And this is one of the many good reasons why we really do need to be on the front foot and continue to protect the buildings and work with our community in addressing them when they really need to be addressed quickly. And I look forward to the outcomes of that review. And I hope that we can retain this very important site and see planning conditions put on this location. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Neeling, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Castaldo. This is an important matter that has come to Council. And if this site has heritage value, it is extremely important, to protect this asset and conserve our history. Continuing engagement with the Mother of God Church to achieve voluntary withdrawal is of high importance. Preserving our history is the goal here, and it's important and valuable so that we learn about and learn from our past. Waiting for the current heritage study to be completed and presented to Council this September. So, this process is done properly. We need to maintain the site until then, until the study's been completed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak on this item? No. I'll now put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? Declare the motion carried. We can now invite Councillor McKern back into the room. While we do that, I note that the next item in our agenda is item 7.1 for the adoption of the Rates Financial Hardship Assistance Policy for 2021-22. There are no speakers, and we have a recommendation on our papers, albeit with some small amendments. Councillor Castaldo, I understand you're moving. Thank you. And looking for a seconder, Councillor Di Morales. Councillor Castaldo, you wish to speak?
Okay.
Oh,
yep.
Actually, it'd be good if you could just
Amendments.
note the minor amendments to the motion first.
Just a basic wording change on item 3, rather than advice, shift it to advise ratepayers of the financial assistance that is available. And down at item 5, a minor amendment, administer to deliver, just to make things a little clearer. Thank you. So moved.
Thank you, Councillor. And do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, please. Look, I'd first like to acknowledge this is a challenging time for all of us, both socially, mentally, economically, and in all other different types of ways as well. The Rates Hardships Policy at this moment is one of the most important components to our budget and policies that we need to continually redress. And it's no more evident than in the last 2 weeks with this shutdown that's just occurred. I remember it was just 3 weeks ago in the council meeting, we were talking about budget and how we didn't imagine how we'd be in such a good situation. Well, we've flipped since that last meeting, and it's really drawn attention to the need for us to adapt and consider and target our policy over the coming years. And so that is something that we've done over the last 12 months in the previous budget, and we will need to continue doing this time. This budget, we've allocated $500,000 to rates hardship for those that are struggling or finding it difficult to pay their rates. And that's what this specific item on the agenda is dealing with. But we're also working at providing targeted support to businesses. And that is an ongoing matter as well. And we'll be continuing to bring that to council and look at budget submissions in that area as well. So it's very hard. It's just even over the last few days, things shift, and we never know what to predict. So this is an item that we will continue to be working on. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor De Morales, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. As Councillor Castaldo said, he's covered quite a lot of what this item is. And it really is such an important thing for our community going through what they're going through with this uncertain time. And, you know, next to a rate waiver, this is probably the next best thing that we can do for the individuals or the ratepayers that are doing it difficult in the community. And, you know, this continues on from what the council last term did, which is provide assistance to people that do need it. And I know this is one of many policies that council's currently putting in place to be able to support people during these uncertain times. With COVID-19, as Councillor Castaldo said, 3 weeks ago, we were all out and about. 2 weeks ago, we're all locked in, and who knows where it will be in a week again. And, you know, it's a challenging time, especially those with kids being homeschooling. It's a very difficult time. And for those that can't work, you know, that's makes it even more challenging. And we're just, as a council, aiming to support you as much as we can. And this is a great example of that. So make sure you jump on the website. The advice will be on the website on how to apply, and also on rates and valuation notices being distributed for 21-22. So please jump on and make sure you get the hardship if you need it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Malik.
Yeah, as the councillor said, this is a very important item, but it just goes to highlight how quickly things can change. And, you know, a few weeks ago, things were going on quite well, and the 80-odd thousand the MCG, that's changed. This supports people in their rates, but there's also those many businesses that are really doing it tough out there at the moment, and we need to think of ways to support them with it. But it's also quite true that this lockdown in particular has been very hard on many people, and we all should do what we can to help and support our neighbours and our friends, and just the little things that count. And so if you can contact someone you know that might be struggling, that would be important. But it does highlight also how important it is that this will continue until we get the vaccination rates up to a point where we can open up fully and be safe, instead of being knocked over by, you know, small incidences, you know, a couple of cases, and next minute we go back into lockdown again. So we really do need to get that vaccination rates up, and that's everyone's responsibility. So we'd encourage people that are listening tonight that haven't had their shots, then go out and get your shots, so we can recover from this and move back to life as it should be, and what we're all looking forward to.
Thank you, Councillor Malik. And does any other councillor wish to speak on this item? Councillor Neely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to highlight just a couple of things from the report. This hardship assistance policy includes a deferral of rates and charges, a waiving of interest and legal costs, or a payment arrangements, particularly for individuals experiencing these financial difficulties from the lockdown. I'm hoping, as Councillor said before, I'm really hoping we're not in lockdown for much longer. And I'm also hoping, yes, Mr. De Morales, I'm also hoping that, you know, the case numbers are down for the rest of the week. Is that being too optimistic? So, you know, this interim policy, you know, helps out from these lockdowns, particularly after the conclusion of JobKeeper and JobSeeker. And it's great because it's a simple process for individuals and businesses to access support from council. And just to highlight that council's doing a great job with helping our members in the community going through this unprecedented time, this challenging time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Can't see anyone raising their hands. Look, I just wanted to make a brief comment to thank Councillor De Morales. It was really his work and advocacy internally through the budget process that got this on the radar. Council had moved and resolved an economic support package last year, which included wage waivers. But Councillor De Morales was quite firm early on in the budget process around the importance of looking at rate relief for the community for this coming financial year. And I think it's important to call that out and to thank Councillor De Morales for the advocacy on that. And the second point is that I'd just like to highlight for everyone in the community now, if you're on JobSeeker or if you know anyone on JobSeeker, it's $500 off the rates. So please get the message out. And for anyone else that's experiencing general financial hardship, and in particular those over the last week or so that have had to apply to the federal government for the $500 in relief payments to get you through this current lockdown, you will also be eligible for a $250 waiver. So I'm just sort of putting a call out there to anyone listening in that is either experiencing the hardship themselves or knows of people in the community. That relief and support is effective immediately or once the council resolves. So please let your residents and your neighbours know about that support. And we certainly hope that it'll make a bit of a difference to people in the community that are doing it tough at this time. I'll now put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? I declare the motion carried. Next item is 7.2, RW 465 for the proposed discontinuance of road bounded by 275 Upper Heidelberg Road, Ivanhoe. We do not have any speakers and we have a recommendation on our papers. May I have a councillor move? Councillor McKern, and a seconder. Oh, and wants the second. I'll second. Councillor McKern, do you wish to speak to the item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to briefly explain to our audience what this is about. It's essentially a procedural matter, Mr. Mayor. In my discussions with Mr. Walker, Director of City Development, he's explained, as the map shows in the agenda, we're talking about a fairly narrow, small road that provide or has in the past historically provided motorist access from St Elmo Road through to the car park and Ivanhoe Parade at the Centre Ivanhoe. However, as part of the Centre Ivanhoe project, the road is no longer necessary, and so the aim of this recommendation is discontinuance of the particular subject site for use as a road. Importantly for our public, in practice, it doesn't really change anything for anyone. It is still a pedestrian access way, and as a road, changed traffic movements due to the new works means that motorists entering the car park just do so in a different manner. So as the road no longer lines up and is defunct as a road, but still there for pedestrian access and still part of council property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. I don't wish to speak. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I'll now put the motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? I declare the motion carried. Next item of business is 7.3 for the award of contract number 115-2021 for the provision of town planning consultancy services. There are no speakers and we have a recommendation on our papers. May I have a councillor move? Moved Councillor Malikan and seconded Councillor De Morales. Councillor Malikan, do you wish to speak to this item? You're on mute, councillor.
No, thank you.
And Councillor De Morales, do you wish to speak to the item? No. Assuming. Does any other councillor wish to speak to this item? I might just make a brief comment to note that as a council, we have called for an internal report and briefing on our consultancy expenditure, because it is a focus area for this council, and we look forward to that briefing coming back to the group in due course. I'll now put this motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? Declare the motion carried. Item 7.4, Olympic Park Master Plan Funding Announcement. We have, there are no speakers, and we have wording that differs slightly from the recommendation in the papers. May I have a councillor first move the amended? Councillor De Morales to move, and looking for a seconder. Councillor Castaldo, thank you. Councillor De Morales, did you want to take us through the amendments?
Yep, I will. So point 3, consider as part of the adoption of the 21-22 council budget, the allocation of 1.57 million, the balance of the council funding required to fund the endorsed 3 million contribution in the 22-23 capital works budget. And point 5 has been added, enters into a memorandum of understanding with the Heidelberg United Soccer Club to explore the development of community opportunities within the club environment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. And that's seconded by Peter Castaldo. Councillor De Morales, do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor. This is, wow, you know, $4.5 million contributed by the Victorian government. I believe it was a great surprise when Honourable Ross Spence announced it at the Olympic, or at the event. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, so thank you to everyone else for attending. But this is a perfect example of state coming together and working with council to be able to provide a facility that not only supports a local club, but also community. There's now going to be a range of facilities being brought forward and being developed as quick as possible so that the community can really benefit. With a great thing of this is where council can find funding when funding is provided. So this is a great example also where council has received some money, well, not some, a lot, and we've managed to find more funding inside of our capital works programs and some other projects to ensure that this project gets ahead and gets fully funded and fully complete for the entire community. So thank you to all officers who have worked really diligently on this, especially the CEO. I know she has. And yeah, looking forward to the project being completed and getting down there and seeing some soccer games and cricket and playing at the new playground and sporting facilities that will be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Castaldo, do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, Mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge all those that played a role in delivering this outcome to the broader community. It has been in the motion for multiple years, I think from even when I first started council 5 years ago. So the previous councillor, Kerry Langdon, and also the ongoing support of all the councillors that worked on it back then and the councillors now, the new councillor, Peter De Morales, who I know is very keen to get involved in these projects and is working hard as well. So I'd just like to acknowledge that it is a major piece of infrastructure, perhaps the largest sporting infrastructure in Banyule. And we need to keep on top of this, making sure it delivers for our community as well as it can. And it's going to be one of the great sporting assets for our community going forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Malikan.
Yeah, I was able to attend the announcement. It's fantastic because this club is being recognised for the hard work and the inclusive nature and a long period of supporting their local community. So it was a great announcement by the state government and very happy to support this and really looking forward to providing a first-class facility right in the heart of West Heidelberg there, which I think this city will be proud of in years to come. So great all-round announcement, and very pleased to support this tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. And any other councillor wish to speak? Don't see any hands raised. Look, I'll just further add to the comments that have been noted and highlighting that this is so in total now council will be putting $7 million or $7.5 million toward this, representing the single biggest investment in a sporting club infrastructure and facilities, I believe, in the history of Banyule. So this is very big dollars that the council is allocating to facilities in a club in Heidelberg West, where we know there is enormous need from the community across a whole range of fronts: employment, community facilities, access, inclusion, economic participation. And so it's with that context in mind, the council's, I think, very supportive of this direction, very excited about what's happening, but also very keen to lock in a genuine benefit for the Heidelberg West community by ensuring that there's an MOU there with the club facilities so that there's access for the local residents. And we know that the clubs will be forthcoming on that. They spoke very passionately about their commitment to the local community and their desire to work with and engage in the local community. And so this will lock that in and just deliver a terrific outcome, not only for the clubs, but also for the local community. I'll now put the motion forward as amended. All those in favour? And those against? I declare the motion carried. The next item of business is 7.5, Budget 2021 to 2025 Submissions Declarations. And for the benefit of the public, this item provides for any councillors that may have a conflict of interest in relation to the budget submissions as formally tabled to the council and recorded in the council papers. Any councillor with a conflict will need to make a declaration. Council will then consider that item separately. There are no speakers. Does any councillor have a conflict they wish to declare? No. I'm assuming, based on my notes, that we're moving a motion that it be noted that no councillors disclosed a conflict of interest to any submissions to the budget. May I have a councillor moved Councillor Malikan, and a seconder, Councillor Neely. Thank you very much. Councillor Malikan, do you wish to speak to that item? And Councillor Neely? I'll now put that motion forward. All those in favour? And those against? I declare the motion carried. The next item of business is 7.6, consideration of submissions received for the proposed budget 2021 to 2025 and proposed revenue and rating plan 2021 to 2025. These submissions were formally heard at the meeting on the 26th of May. And as such, the submission process has provided a reasonable opportunity for all those who have submitted to speak to the council and the public about the items. And so there are no further speakers are permitted on the item this evening. I understand that we have wording that differs to the recommendation provided by the officers. I'll be looking for a councillor to move that and to take us through those amendments. May I have a councillor move? Councillor Malikan, and perhaps a seconder before we go through that. Councillor McKern. Councillor Malikan, it'd be great if you could take us through.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to highlight item 1.A that 58 is removed and will be inserted later down, and submission 57 be included in that list. No other changes except in D, where 58 is included under further investigation. We also note the late submission received for the Montmorency Neighbourhood Co-op Limited requesting a contribution to the funding of the Montmorency Community Hub. We also note the late interest received from the Heidelberg West Football Netball Club for the upgrade of the scoreboard at Heidelberg Park, and agreed to contribute $20,000 towards the upgrade of the scoreboard at Heidelberg Park from the 21-22 budget. And I don't think there was any other amendments, was there? I think that was it. I'll so move.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you wish to speak to that item?
I'll just say a few things here. As we talked about before, this COVID is causing lots of issues in our communities, but the budget process has been extremely difficult as usual. We did receive over 70 submissions, and we have gone through those submissions. And there were some excellent submissions. The Montmorency Hub was a good submission. There was a submission in my ward about a heritage study, which was difficult to progress, but I believe once we finish the overall heritage overlay process, then it will be the first cab off the rank to get those guidelines installed. There was also a request for a roundabout in my ward, and we've looked at that before in the corner of Mountain View and Invermay. Very difficult to get a roundabout in there, but we have resolved that we will further investigate what is appropriate at that corner. But it's an incredibly difficult process. The demands on council's rates are enormous. There was certainly some large requests, and there was also a request for a zero rate rise when you one request. But when you've got over 70 submissions asking us to spend more money, it's difficult to then turn around and work out how you can have a zero rate rise and the impact that will have going forward. But then I always think about what you get in return for your rates, and I think this council gives excellent value for money for our rates. And property valuations have increased well over 100,000 per property right across Banyule in the last 12 months. And if you think about it, that'd pay your rates for 40 years on average. So it's I know it's not everyone's doing it that easy, but I think for what you receive for your rates, it's excellent value. And this process we've set up to enable people to request further additional projects, I think is quite fair. It's open, and it certainly gives up councillors the opportunity to have that frank discussions. And I appreciate everyone has engaged in the right spirit. We've had those frank discussions, and we've come to a resolution here tonight. And I think as a council, we're working extremely well together. I think the new councillors have adopted this process very, very well. It's quite daunting. I remember the first time I went through this process, it was quite daunting, but I think the new councillors have all acted quite in harmony in a very excellent manner. And I think as a council, we're working very well together. So I thank them for their efforts. And I understand there will be people not happy with this outcome, but I think in balance, it's a good outcome to these submissions. I think on balance, it's a good budget in a very difficult time.
Thank you, Councillor. And does our seconder, Councillor Neely, wish to speak? Oh, Councillor McKern, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to reflect on the sentiments of and support the sentiments of Councillor Melican. It's the first budget for this council, and for some of us as new councillors, it's been a particularly exciting journey. I mean, we've been talking about the budget since February. We've spoken at length as a council and as council officers and public submitters. And as Councillor Melican mentioned, we received over 70 public submissions. And we appreciate as a council how much thought and consideration has been put into those submissions. and into the preparation of the budget. Each submission, we want our public to know, has been very carefully thought through by officers and council. So if as an organisation you haven't got what you've wanted on this occasion, it has been received, it's been noted, and we ask that you keep working with us. And it's a lot of submissions to try and balance against a budget that was already oversubscribed. But overall, I do very much look forward to these budget initiatives coming to fruition. With regards to the urban food strategy, we received a number of submissions there, and I certainly look forward to discussing how that might look perhaps next year. Within this budget year, to have discussions and perhaps pull together a paper which clarifies more definitely about what our community would like to achieve. So I'd like to congratulate everyone who's been involved in this budget preparation, and as I said, look forward to, as I'm sure all our fellow councillors do, look forward to these initiatives coming to fruition. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Does any other Councillor Neely?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I try not to be repetitive, sounding, the same as my fellow councillors there. We received the public submissions, considered the need, the purpose, the cost, the community benefit, and the timing for implementation if accepted. So there's a lot to consider there, not to mention the amount of submissions. This report reflects conversations and discussions that councillors had considering each item. There were a wide range of community proposals, which was great to see, and the requests for additional projects and funding to be provided for different purposes in Banyule was, outstanding, really. Thank you to everyone that put in their proposals, and thank you also for accepting that this detailed and stringent process, allows some things to go through and not others. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Castaldo.
I'll just keep this short. Thank you to everyone that submitted, all the time that was taken into their submissions, and congratulations to those that got that funding to bring forward projects, to deliver projects that you have put forward on behalf of our community. I'd also like to recognise that while not everything was adopted, we have taken, have been considering them, and will consider them moving forward when we're applying policies at council. And they will be front of mind when councillors discuss a number of items such as the heritage review and other components such as the urban food strategy as well. That's, I know, is something that a lot of people care about and will be involved over the coming year. So just congratulations. And for those that did miss out, there's many ways to get your projects adopted and brought into council, and continue to advocate. There are a lot of good projects out there that I think will have their day at council and will be funded and supported into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor De Morales, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thanks, ma'am. Just to touch on everything, look, the councillors, all the other councillors have pretty much summed it up pretty well. One of the great things that I experienced doing this budget as a first time was getting to hear some of the community groups that you never hear from. There was a Somali Voice Victoria that is coming forward. Bansik put through. there's there's a feasibility study by Open House and Banyul on how we can better resource our assets. It was great. A sports for all, foot for all, I think it was as well. And for me as a new councillor, this is a great example of how the community can actually come out and put through ideas. Yes, it is in a budget. Yes, some of them don't get put through. But as a councillor, we only have so much time in the day. And this is one of the best ways for us to actually hear what you need as a community. So for me, I feel like that was one of the best things going through this process, was really hearing what the community wants. And of course, everything has to be put against financials. And that's one of the most important things as councillors. We have to look at the finances and seeing what can fit in. I know there was a couple of projects that were put forward that can now get put through the current operations. They don't need allocation of budget. Again, if they weren't put forward here, that would have never got done or considered by councillors or officers to continue going through and seeing where we can fit that in current budgets. So yeah, in future, make sure you do get out there and put in the budget submissions, because as councillors, this is one of the processes where we get to hear what you want, and we can't be across everything either. Yeah, that's part of the good things of having community groups. You guys can contribute. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any other councillor wish to speak? I might just briefly ask of the appropriate director just for a summary of the financial impact of the total additions to the budget as proposed by the council. Thank you, Director Gilio.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mayor. The total funding required for the submission supported by council totals $843,000, with the addition of the contribution to the Heidelberg West Football Netball Club scoreboard at Heidelberg Park. That takes it up to $863,000 in total, and that's proposed to be funded out of operational savings generated throughout the year.
Thank you for that, Director. I would just like to thank our Director, Mark Gilio, and his team, and indeed the whole executive team for the work that they did in working through those budget submissions, coming up with good quality advice for the councillors in the timeframes in which they did. So 70 submissions is not the work of a day to get through. The councillors were presented with exceptionally high quality analysis on each and every one of them, very high quality officer recommendations. Every effort was made to accommodate the requests where feasible and where aligned with council policy and strategy. So through the CEO, we'd just like to thank Alison for the tremendous amount of work that's been done by the officers to work through that and to assist council in arriving at the position that we're at now. I'll now put the motion forward as amended by Councillor Malikan. All those in favour? And those against? Declare the motion carried. There are no documents to be sealed this evening, nor any notices of motion. So the next item of business is general business. Councillor Malikan, I believe you have 2 items. You're on mute, Councillor.
I'm afraid I'll have to rely on my phone because I can't get it up on me PC. I've closed my agenda down, sorry. First item of business was about Refugee Weeks, which started on the 20th of June, went through to the 26th of June. The theme of this year's is Unity, the Way Forward. Refugee Week aims to raise awareness and issues affecting refugees. The theme aims to highlight aspects of the refugee experience and to help broaden the community, broaden understanding what it's like to be a refugee. It promotes harmony and togetherness. The theme unites individuals, community and organisations from many different backgrounds behind a common cause. The common cause is a reminder that regardless of our differences, we all share a common humanity. Council is a refugee welcome zone, and through Council's multicultural plan, support and advocates for refugees and asylum seekers. Council will be undertaking a number of activities and events during Refugee Weeks. For details, please check the Council website. Thank you. And the other item was on the major transport project update. There are a number of major transport project updates in the municipality, including the Fitzsimmons Road intersection, the Hurstbridge rail line upgrade, stage 2, and the North East Link. Trees are of particular importance considerations for each of these projects, including the need to minimise tree canopy loss as well as ensuring there is significant replacement planting. A recent Age article is in relation to the loss of canopy covering in Borlase Reserve associated with the North East Link has highlighted the concerns. An update on major projects, transport projects, is expected at the next council meeting, which will include an approach being taken to a placement plannings associated with each project.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Mitsonikos, I understand you have an item as well.
Yes, I do. Sorry, just trying to get my screen working as well. So we'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge that this most recent pandemic is having a significant impact on those in our community. In June 2020, the statewide coronavirus hotline was expanded to proactively reach out to people known to be isolated or vulnerable. The statewide hotline connects callers to support networks in each local government area. At the same time, the Community Activation and Social Isolation, otherwise known as CASE, initiative was implemented to combat loneliness, social isolation, provide emotional and practical support and referral to appropriate services to keep them connected. Groups in particular focus included senior citizens, people with disability, carers, and people from CALD communities. Callers to the coronavirus hotline were triaged and, based on a needs assessment, are offered immediate food, material aid and emotional support. They may then also be referred to the Community Connector for additional support and linking services if required. Casey works by connecting people in need to community supports available in their area. This means that their work to highlight what sorts of practical, emotional and social supports are available in their community, and then ensures that those supports come together from those seeking help. The supports available differ from community to community, but types of support tend to fall into 3 categories. Emotional support, such as regular chats with like-minded locals. Practical help, such as running errands or helping people to video chat with friends and family. Social activities, such as linking onto online book clubs, fitness groups or volunteering opportunities. During the first lockdown, Banyule Council implemented the KCE program in conjunction with partners to deliver support to residents that have increased need due to isolating services during COVID-19. The group works together to assess need and look at collaborative responses to fill the gaps. We encourage any individuals who are currently experiencing increased need during isolation as a result of COVID to, in the first instance, contact the COVID hotline, which is 1800 675 398, or alternatively, you can email the community.connector@banyule.vic.gov.au. This email is monitored within business hours on Monday to Friday, where you'll be connected with someone who can help. In addition to this, today, the state government has announced an additional $30 million to support Victorians during this current situation. This includes an additional $4.5 million for provision of food, support to international students, the introduction of food hubs and collaboration with local cafes and restaurants to support the hospitality industry. An additional hardship support payment will also be offered in conjunction with $12 million for community organisations focused on supporting vulnerable communities. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor, and really appreciate you taking through the community the advice and support that's available for people during this time. and it is a challenging time. And for people who are feeling that way at home, know that the support is available, and we'll make sure all those details are available on our website. I believe that concludes general business, unless I hear see a hand raised from any other councillor. And I don't. Public questions. I just wish to notify that council has received 9 public questions, including a question carried over from the previous council meeting. These questions will be included in the minutes of this meeting, along with the answers provided, and that will be available on our website later this week. Now wish to move to the closure of the meeting. So in accordance with section 66(2)(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting will now be closed to members of the general public for consideration of one confidential matter. Can I please have a councillor move and a seconder for council to close? So move Councillor Malikan and seconded Councillor Champion, and that will be to close the meeting to members of the public prior to consideration of confidential item 11.1. I'll now put that motion forward. All those in favour, I should say. Thank you. And all those against? I declare that that motion is carried. The next ordinary meeting of council will be held on Monday, the 28th of June 2021, whereas the council will certainly hope that we're able to conduct that meeting in person and welcome members of the public to attend, but that will be subject to the COVID restrictions that apply at that time. I'll now adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes at 8:09 p.m, thanking all those at home for your attendance.